Hey, what's going on, my friends, and welcome to another video with a full-time purpose. My name is Victor, and today I'm going to share with you some what I believe to be essential reads, essential books I believe every spiritual entrepreneur should read. So much of what I have to offer and so much of my success has come from the wisdom and the guidance and the lessons I've learned from people way smarter than myself, from experts. Now, some of them are, there's a few different categories here. One of them is going to have to do more so with just the psychology and the mindset, which is important. Some of them will be more advanced, more like specific to learning sales and marketing and business. And then there's one I'm going to share with you at the end that I don't really hear anybody talking about, but is perhaps the most important read out of all of them. Book number one is not so much a book, rather a genre. I have here Malcolm X, the autobiography of Malcolm X. I highly recommend reading books by people who have done really big things. I've read a lot of books about, powerful people that have made a huge difference in the world. In particular, what resonates with me is pioneers, revolutionaries, people who really had a purpose and followed it to a huge degree. I find them to be inspiring and motivating. I find that I can relate with them in a sense, like some of the qualities, that burning feeling like you're here to do something, these people had. And a lot of them, when you read their books, you'll see that they also didn't just show up in the world as this successful, influential person. But they had these types of qualities that they credit for their success. For example, Malcolm X, at one point, he was kind of a bad guy for quite a while there. He was kind of like a thug, a drug dealer. He was mixed up with the wrong people well before people knew who he was. And eventually was thrown in jail. I forgot for how long. It's been a while since I've read the book, but it's a very kind of a long time. Many years he was in a prison. And in this prison, of course, it sucked. He had very limited freedoms. But one of the things he did, he didn't just give up on life. He had this never quit attitude. And what he did is he taught himself to read in the middle of the night by studying a dictionary with nothing but the light coming through the crack of the door. He'd literally all night, imagine some dude perched up by his freaking door who can't read in a hopeless, bleak, miserable circumstance. And he taught himself how to read the freaking dictionary. And then he went on to study book after book after book after book. And he came out of jail this transformed human being. Reading that really inspired me to be disciplined with my time, make the most out of every situation. And some of these lessons, I feel like they're invaluable and they allow you to apply some of the more technical things that I'm going to suggest you read. Another book that happened to be very pivotal for me now is called The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. And you can see it's like a little goldfish in a little bowl hopping into a bigger goldfish, a bigger fish bowl rather. And this is kind of like a scenario a lot of, especially early on, entrepreneurs find themselves in. Most people live their life in the confinement of a fishbowl as a metaphor for a life that's been they've been placed in by the conditioning, the beliefs of their mom and their dad and their society, the school systems, the different influences in their life. And we come to have this very limited, fragmented, disempowered self-image. But over the course of our life, for most entrepreneurs, there's something inside you that's deeper than all of that wakes up and it starts to kind of become a guiding light in your life. And it can start to lure you into bigger fish bowls, into the unknown, out of your comfort zone. And anyway, this is a book that's really for people who are in that spot, who are in the process of or contemplating this jump into their purpose and power. And Gay Hendricks goes into the psychology of that leap. And it's just very helpful. For example, one of his concepts he talks about is the glass ceiling. And he talks about how a lot of us, whatever we do in our life, a lot of it's sort of unconscious, and we always end up bumping into this sort of glass ceiling. And the glass ceiling is kind of like a barometer for what feels right and normal. And unfortunately, most people feel safe, feel normal in a little freaking fishbowl that is not at all representative of their power. And he just talks about it's just a glass ceiling. And I can go deep into each one of these books, obviously, but this book really reaffirmed what I already was feeling inside, that I should go for it. And he really gave me some helpful tools and different ways of looking at the situation that allowed me to break through a lot of my inner barriers. Getting a little more technical now, I'm gonna go straight to one of my favorite business authors. His name is Brian Tracy. Brian Tracy is a very well-known motivational speaker. He's got he's got an insane amount of books he's written. I can't see him right now, but he's just like a nice mix of someone who is a good coach. He really knows how people think and knows about the mindset, but he's also very, very good, skilled, and experienced, and well-respected. So The Psychology of Sales, I think, is an essential book if you're going to be doing any kind of sales, which if you're an entrepreneur, chances are selling is going to be part of a huge determining factor of your success. And sales is not natural to most people. It's like there's a set of skills and a whole understanding of human psychology that must be understood. It reminds me a lot, honestly, of sparring. Hear me out. Sparring is something you do in like boxing and martial arts. And I used to do a little bit of that. And what I found is that when you're new and inexperienced and you're like in a boxing match, all the natural things that come to you, all the instinctual things you would do normally in that circumstance, get you beat up. They're completely wrong. For example, if someone's like punching you, the instinct for a lot of us is to either fight back or cower away. And most people who are fighting an experienced boxer, they cower, they turn their head, they duck, and that just makes you an open book to get wailed on. What you want to do is go into the punches, and then they can't really hit you. That's just an example of how sales is. You think that a lot of people who mean well and think they're doing a good job of sales, they're getting beat up in their ring and not even knowing it. So you really need to understand the skills, and Brian Tracy is a phenomenal person to learn from. Another book, more so author, I recommend reading. He's even more advanced, I would say, though, than Brian Tracy, is someone named Russell Brunson. This is the first book I bought of him. It's called DotCom Secrets. This is specifically if you're starting an online business. And again, this is more advanced. This is some of the concepts he doesn't go into explaining for a newcomer. This is somebody who already has a decent, somewhat of an understanding of certain terms like funnels and opt-in pages, things like that, lead magnets. If you don't know what any of that is, then this book might be a little bit advanced for you. But once you have some basic understanding, he gives away a lot of extremely valuable information, more so than a lot of people. A lot of people at his level of understanding of internet marketing, they give you, their whole book basically is a sales page to buy their consulting services. So they really only give you kind of only so much information, enough to kind of get you excited, but not really enough to go on. He gives away the farm. And the reason he can do that, because his situation's the same. He's selling his software called ClickFunnels. And he wants, if he can get you to be a successful entrepreneur, he knows you'll buy his monthly $100 a month or so ClickFunnels. So he just straight up tells you everything, how to do webinars, how to really make it online. And he holds nothing back because he's not a consulting company. He wants you to be successful because he's selling his ClickFunnels thing, which I use. It's awesome, actually. All my sales pages are on ClickFunnels. Same with my business partner, Aaron. We both have used it for years. He's a badass. He's got a lot of free content online, but man, his books, you can sometimes get them for free by going to his website. He gives them away for like $7, free. But they're awesome. He has 3 books, I believe, and I have all 3 of them, and they're phenomenal. This next book is an example of a category of books I recommend you read. Right now, it's a psychology book I'm reading. It's called Hive Mind. by this PhD, Sarah Rose Kavanaugh or something. Anyway, it's a book that, I wouldn't say it's a hard read, but it's not something I breeze through. I'm reading it because it's giving me knowledge. This is like an example of studying things that help me understand life, myself, people. Like the smarter you are, the more educated you are about things that are sort of exciting and important to you, it just makes you a more effective communicator, a more interesting human being. It's like, it helps you with some of the intangible qualities that I believe go into being an entrepreneur. Like if I could be like if I was just this boring but wizardy sales guy, you wouldn't really relate to me most likely, even though my information might be spot on. I find you gotta have general street smarts, general education, general wisdom, and yeah, just like a general street smarts, honestly. And I've been doing this for like decades, just reading books that are interesting to me, though I do have to kind of make myself read it. There's other books, like, for example, I like rock star biographies, autobiographies. Those are fun for me. I could breeze through them in like a day. This I have to kind of make myself read, but I do. And I recommend you do as well. I could give you a gazillion different books I've read, but I would recommend you find the ones that are interesting to you. And real quick, there's an author I can't leave out of this video because any other successful entrepreneur, if they saw this video, they'd be like, bro, where's Dan Kennedy? How could you not have Dan Kennedy? Dan Kennedy is like the epitome of the OG author and influencer in a sense of business, sales, marketing, sales copy especially. And here's one, I have a bunch of his books. Here's one of them. It's the No BS Business Success, the ultimate no holds bar, kick butt, take no prisoners, tough and spirit guide. Yeah, tough and spirited guide, Dan Kennedy. It's like he's got a ton of these books, man, about again, writing sales copy, marketing, just business in general, everything. And he's just a pioneer in this, and the principles you learn in this book are still timeless. They're still priceless. And you can just learn a lot in a short period of time by reading his book. Also just noticing how he writes. He's such a talented and experienced copywriter that all his books are just very, I wouldn't say like they're not gonna knock your socks off the way like Ralph Waldo Emerson would or something like that. But the way he writes is very compelling, very compelling and interesting, and kind of like, he's just got really, really good sales copy. So you can study his material, but also the way he writes his material is also something to take note of. And again, this is just something I feel like every entrepreneur needs to read at least a few Dan Kennedy books. Lastly, my friends, the most important book of all is gonna surprise you. You are gonna probably stare at me like, huh? Really? Really, Vic? I feel duped. I now question this whole video because of this freaking book. Yeah. Dun, da, da, da. Duff McKagan. He was the bassist for Guns N' Roses, and this is his autobiography. It's a must read. Now, half joking. What I can't recommend enough, my friends, is reading books that you just like. Of course, I'm being facetious here. I love this book. I love reading rock and roll star autobiographies. They're my favorite books to read. I have to purposely not read them fast because I'm sad when it's over. I can just sit there all day and read them. Now, this bit of advice is multifold. Number one, to be a successful entrepreneur, you gotta read, you gotta learn. You can't just be like everybody else, coasting through life, relying on the, teeny bit of information you retained from high school or college that was boring and dry and oftentimes not applicable in your actual life. It's important to just be a good reader, someone who reads a lot, can read quickly, and can retain information quickly. And a way to do that comes straight from the mouth of my 8-year-old son, Lucas. My 8-year-old son, Lucas, I shit you not, reads more than anybody I've ever met. He can read like a 150-page book in like a day, and like Goosebumps books and like Harry Potter books And he read, even recently, he read, what's the name of the book? I can't think of the name of the book, but it's a book, a novel that I read. Maybe it'll come to me. Anyway, and I asked him, I said, Luke, how do you read so much? It's fascinating to me. All his books are like messed up because he read them like 5 or 6 times each. He's got this whole bookshelf and he's constantly reading all the time. He goes in often and he reads and he loves it. He's fast and he retains it. It's inspiring. And he always says to me the same thing. He says, Dad, you gotta find books you like. And it sounds so simple, but like, it's hard for me to read some of the books I've read. I have to kind of make myself do it, and it takes me a long ass time. But when there's a book like this, like Duff McKagan or Jim Morrison or like John Lennon or Jimi Hendrix, people like that, I can just devour. So I recommend having a fun read you're always reading. I read multiple books, by the way, at once. It takes me a while because I have so many books I read at one time, but one of them I read every night is like my fun book. And the fun book I also read on the days off, and it just keeps me engaged. It makes me a much better and faster reader as well. And also, another important thing is like, I know a lot of people who their whole life is their business. And I can understand it because I've had times in my life where I was super consumed as well because it is so enthralling and it can really suck you in. But man, some of those people are not very fun. They don't really know how to chill and enjoy life. And I'm still learning that myself. And I've learned that your happiness, your balance as a human being is also gonna indirectly but powerfully influence you as a business person. So don't just read nothing but Dan Kennedy and you become this sort of like person who's disconnected from reality. And it can work, honestly, but in my opinion, it's like you're not even happy, so what's the point? But if you want to become a faster, better reader, read books you like. By the way, my friends, this video initially started out as something I was going to share with just my coaching clients. My friend Aaron Dowdy and I, we have a business called Full-Time Purpose where we actually coach spiritual entrepreneurs like you, and we teach you how to grow an audience. We teach you all of our tricks to growing like big social media accounts. We teach you how to sell your coaching or your healing services or your psychic services effectively where you're making a good income and can do it full time. We also teach you how to create systems in your life to where a lot of the things in your life or in your business are automated so you have time to read. I have time it's like 8 o'clock in the morning and I'm almost done with work. I'm gonna go on the boat with Aaron later. And then later after that, I'm gonna go to the park with my kids, like to give you that freedom. Anyway, if you want to apply for that, we only take people by application. We wanna make sure you're the right fit. There's an application down below this video. Just go ahead and fill it out if this all resonates. And if not, I'll tune in. I'll see you all next week for another video here at the Full-Time Purpose channel. Have an amazing week, my friends. Much love. Peace.